Yeah, I should win just because you had the Timberwolves in the 8th seed.
Vasilevsky's been playing really well, and the Lightning have great offense.
Yeah, it was a tremendous shot, and I've come to expect it from LeBron. I would say I wish the best for the Red Sox, but as a Yankees fan, that's really hard for me to do.
The biggest addition to me is Jalen Brunson.
Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and that's all I have to say. He's still a top 5 quarterback in this league, and there's nothing really anyone can do about it.
Why'd you have to name him? Like, seriously. Thanks, man.
Who would have thought 5 years ago that the Clippers and Nets would be facing in the finals?
How is Joe Burrow going to get the ball to them if his butt is already on the ground?
Crazy. And for the fans at home,
Hello, I'm Cy Mendenhall, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Weekend. Austin, we are familiar with this new head coach as he coached both of our teams, the Green Bay Packers and Dallas Cowboys, as Mike McCarthy gets his third head coaching gig with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I would say this is shocking, or it's surprising and also not surprising, because if you look at what the Steelers have done over the years recently, it's do well, get a playoff spot, then lose, and not go too far in the playoffs. Mike McCarthy did that with the Dallas Cowboys, and of course won a Super Bowl with Green Bay, but most recently he's a guy that has set a high floor for the team, but hasn't been able to push through in the playoff and having success.
Yeah, I remember saying that I thought Mike McCarthy may be a coach candidate. I remember saying that a lot, actually. I remember we had a fair amount of conversation because I did think that he was going to be on the market this year. Last year was a little bit different because he had just gotten parted ways because he never actually got fired because his contract just ran out. But after that, what happened? I didn't think he was going to be an option, but I did think he was going to be this year because how many coaches have won a Super Bowl? But I do find it funny that the last time Mike Tomlin was in the Super Bowl was when McCarthy was in the Super Bowl. So do you think this is more because they wanted an experienced guy to now be on the offensive side of the ball? Or do you think this is a trying to just find another Super Bowl level coach, even if he may not be at the top of his powers?
I want to say probably maybe Super Bowl level. I think they want an experienced coach to where they're still competitive.
Do you think it was more what I'm saying though is like, do you get rid of, or does Tomlin leave because you're trying to change the system to offense more, or no?
No, I would say I believe the point of kind of Rooney and Tomlin we're going to talk about the upcoming year where Tomlin was going to be on the hot seat, and then Tomlin is just like, I don't want to do this. So I think they want someone to be competitive and a new voice, and McCarthy does that in the short term. But of reaching the playoffs, I think that is questionable. But as you said, a Super Bowl ring still speaks volumes of who you are as a head coach and just kind of in that job prospects.
Yeah, I also think because of this, like they need a QB. McCarthy has had good QBs basically his entire time as a head coach, whether it's been Dak or Rodgers. So there's a hope that maybe he can find a guy for the future. I do think that, I mean, obviously having an offensive head coach does increase your chances offensively, continuity-wise. I still think they could contend for the playoffs next year because I think their division is terrible. I mean, the Ravens don't have a coach. The Browns don't have a coach.
I thought Ravens signed the
right.
Chargers.
Yeah, that's right.
But the Browns are in a
is
mess
it
of a head coach.
Jesse Minter?
Jesse Minter, yeah.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. But
yeah, no.
I think being a first-time head coach, I do think makes me a little bit less. I'm more confident in McCarthy out of the gate than I am with Minter because I know more about McCarthy. Now, playoffs is a whole different question, but getting to the playoffs, I don't think it's ever been a McCarthy problem. It's in the playoffs that I think most of his issues have arisen. But in a weaker division, I think the Steelers will find they'll be contending for a playoff spot next year. I wouldn't be surprised if they had a very similar record if they can find a quality quarterback. Maybe, do you think this may be a play to get Rodgers to return another year? Because I was thinking about that as well, because Rodgers is considering playing another season. Does McCarthy being there increase the chances?
I would say no. And people are floating that like, oh, this is so Rodgers. Part of the reason McCarthy was fired was because Rodgers didn't like him. And to me, Rodgers kind of is a guy that holds a lot of grudges, so I don't see him changing his mind about McCarthy.
Okay. Yeah, I was also thinking like, man, this is kind of weird. That'd be weird. I think seeing McCarthy, at least as a Packers fan, seeing McCarthy and Rodgers again on a different team. I'm trying to think, have we seen that? Have we seen a QB and a coach on a different team be QB and coach?
Okay, like does Pete Carroll and Geno Smith count? Because that
yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It does.
And that does.
Okay, that's a great pull. Is there another one? Or is that it?
I want to say there was one.
Because, I mean, like, there's Shane Steichen, who was the OC of the Chargers and is in Philip Rivers' head coach, but that doesn't count. It has to be head coach to head coach.
Does it have to be starting, or can it just be a quarterback?
I would say it does. You're going to say, I was about to say, I don't think that counts. Because you're going to say what, the Jaguars? And then.
Or no, I was going to say Eagles, Chiefs, Andy Reid. I want to say Andy Reid was the coach.
Okay, and then Doug Peterson was Foles the quarterback for the Jaguars with Doug Peterson?
No, he was, I want to say, Gus Bradley.
Okay.
But yeah, no. Outside of that, though, it's pretty rare, and yeah, it would feel weird. And I do think McCarthy is a good coach because I did think he set a high standard for the Cowboys, which was being competitive each year and making the playoffs. Even with backup quarterbacks, they were good and were able to win some games. But I think when you talk about the innovative style, I don't think he's that innovative. But I do think it's a good marriage because the Cowboys front office was weak of kind of adding players late. To me, the Steelers are going to have a plan from a front office side. It may not be a great plan, but they'll have a plan. So I could see him doing well and competing for the division in his first season.
Yeah, I don't think making the playoffs, at least in my opinion, has ever been much of a problem. It's been after you get there managing the playoffs and winning games. I think that was always a big part of his tenure with the Packers after he won that Super Bowl, is that we lost a lot of playoff games, especially that Seahawks game where we lost on an onside kick, just getting over the hump in the playoffs. And I think that's part of what marred his Cowboys tenure as well. I thought his offensive ideas are good, not bad. They're good. Not great, not revolutionary, but not bad. He has good offensive sets. But just in the playoffs, I think that there is something to be said about his inability to breed winners at that time of the season. And while I think the Steelers will be a playoff contender, a contender to make the playoffs, I find it hard to believe they're a Super Bowl contender during McCarthy's tenure with the team. Not necessarily next season, but the entire tenure with the team.
Yeah, they'll be competitive. It'll be like what they were under Tomlin. And I think he can help with the quarterback situation. But it has been a while since he's developed a quarterback because Prescott was a guy that already establishes himself as a starter. But I do think he reached a different level with McCarthy. But now it's kind of what do you do now drafting wise? I think one guy they could sign as a bridge quarterback could be Mac Jones. Because I want to say he's just on a 1-year deal with San Francisco. And then you take someone in the draft and see what happens. Oh, never mind. He signed a 2-year deal with San Francisco.
Who did?
Mac Jones. I'm trying to think of like free agent quarterbacks.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about it. Yeah, there's really no one. I guess Jimmy Garoppolo. Trey Lance would be funny if he signs with McCarthy, but there's not kind of a guy that like high first round pick that is looking for a team. Daniel Jones, I feel like doesn't feel like the McCarthy mold. So I think you could see them draft someone and then kind of have a veteran quarterback in.
Okay,
So,
that's a good point.
You go. I would argue, so the McCarthy move is not bad, but I think when you have a chance to look at a head coach, I would go the younger route because there is a possibility. Yes, there is a possibility it flames out, and McCarthy shouldn't flame out. It's just you kind of know what he is. Going with a younger guy, if you even want to go offensive mind, there are a lot of offensive minds that you could go out, have them build something, and you could even become a Super Bowl contender. I feel like you don't have that. You don't have a high probability of with McCarthy, but you do gain having a higher probability of being a competitive team compared to a new guy.
I kind of like it a little bit because I do believe that his ability to find the next QB is promising, and that the QB isn't only going to be there when McCarthy's there, right? It would survive McCarthy. So in that way, I don't feel too bad about it. However, I am a little bit concerned because of, like you said, the ceiling is known with McCarthy.
Yeah,
so
and that
I think that it's a little bit disappointing, I think, for Steelers fans to know that a Super Bowl is probably not in their future under McCarthy. While we don't know what Jesse Mentor is, but not knowing is sometimes good.
Yeah, and you make a good point of he could be a bridge coach for Pittsburgh, but I feel like he's there at least 5 years. To me, Pittsburgh is not a team. Like, this is their 4th head coach hired since, like, I think it was like 79, because it goes Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin, then McCarthy. I feel he's there for a little bit and kind of establishing a standard. So you kind of, he could help you get a quarterback, but depending on what that quarterback does those years, it could kind of rely on, okay, maybe you have to go a different quarterback route.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So very interesting. Like, this is fun from a coach on his 3rd team to, because I'm trying to think, like, John Fox had a lot of was a head coach maybe even 4 times, or was it 3 times?
Bears, Panthers, Broncos.
I thought he was the Falcons coach at one point. And he never. Okay, yeah, you're right. Okay, he was never with the Falcons.
Yeah, I was just
so it's just 3.
Broncos. Yeah, I couldn't think of another one. I was like,
Yeah, I don't know who I'm thinking of for Falcons then. But the thing with John Fox is he had his team go to the Super Bowl, but they never won.
And that happened with his first 2 teams, Carolina and Denver. But yeah, I don't know.
So very interested, and we'll keep you updated on all the other head coaching moments and signings and what else happens. We appreciate you listening to Outsiders Opinions.